Hello, and welcome back to Inside the Runner Studio. This is your host, Tom, and with me, as always, are Aaron, Michael, and Diana.
Hello.
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 These are our mini episodes where we get to know folks from our running community, and today we have our friend, Andrew. Andrew, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so I got to know Tom and Diana while I was living out in Maryland, but I'm actually originally from DeKalb, Illinois, which is a little city in the middle of Illinois, bunch of cornfields that nobody's ever heard of, but we are the birthplace of Barbed Wire and Cindy Crawford, so that's our main claim to fame.
Those are two amazing things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And now we know.
Fun fact for you.
That's a fun fact. And I think I've heard Weckerly say that he is from Northern Illinois about 3,000 times since I've met him. He's always like, I'm from Northern Illinois.
Why does Northern matter?
So here's the thing.
Jersey.
Most people, when I'm introducing myself, they'll say, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'll say Chicago. Now, the terrifying thing is they'll say, when I run into somebody outside of Chicago and they say, "Oh, me too, where from?" And I'm like, okay, I'm not actually from Chicago. I'm in the middle of a bunch of cornfields and like an hour and a half outside of the city. So.
That's funny.
All right, so you know the format. We've put a bunch of questions into a randomizer. Half are going to be running related. The other half are not, just kind of random. And we will jump right in. Diana, you want to get us started?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Weck, the place you'd most like to run, or do you have a bucket list race?
So I do have a bucket list race. It's also where my wife Angie and I are planning on doing my first marathon, which is in Rennes, France. So if you've ever heard of Mont Saint-Michel, it's this amazing castle that's out in Rennes, France, where when the tide goes out, it's completely surrounded by like sand pits and stuff, but it looks like it's all land. And then when the tide comes in, it's completely surrounded by water. But with the race, you apparently just start out in the French countryside and then you start running towards this castle and then you end up at the castle. And so that's where we're planning on doing my first marathon.
Wow,
I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think we could just stop there. That was the best answer I've ever heard.
All right.
I had also liked to do there's a Maui marathon, but
Yeah.
I think that there's lots of hills associated
Yes,
with that.
there
And I'm
definitely are.
disinclined to do hills. So
That's actually one of the ones that's on my list and it is very known to be a very hilly race because you run on the volcanic volcanoes.
Coastline,
Yeah. All right. So what is your post-run food or drink? What is your go-to post-run food or drink?
So I'll generally just eat whatever Angie provides in snack form, but we did create a sort of ritual when we were out in Maryland, and that was to go to Jason's Deli after we got done doing a run so that we could get like our sandwich and get our little ice cream that we'd earned. And we were a little bit bummed because Jason's Delis are nowhere near as common out in Illinois as they are in Maryland. And so we found one, but it was like a 40 minute drive from where we go run, but we still go and do it pretty regularly. We'll go run and then I can still get my ice cream.
It must be worth it. Wow.
I know I've referenced my OCD on the page or undiagnosed OCD. But I feel like the commitment to rituals is something that I think is pretty strong for me.
Yeah.
All right. So you trails or roads and why?
Absolutely roads. I've never fallen, so I don't have any good reason, but like I just have this like idea that like if I go on a trail, I'm gonna slip or fall or hurt myself some way. And so like I know that that's an irrational fear. Diana might tell me otherwise.
I fall regularly, so
yeah. But I really like running on roads. I did my first Ragnar last year, and it was a Ragnar road where it was reach the beach, and it was really fun to be going out in the middle of the night and running along a road. And I think it just when I was in middle school and high school, did track and field, and I got really bad shin splints. And so I just want sort of the most predictable sort of medium for me to be running on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so let's talk about goals. What's the one goal that drives you the most to run?
I think that there's a couple. One is just, as I was getting close to being 30, and then as I've passed 30 and continued getting older, it was just looking for something that I could do easily and fit in wherever was convenient for me to be active. So when I was growing up, I was in sports constantly, doing soccer and basketball and track and everything. And, once you get into college or start in your sort of professional career, and there's just not opportunities as easy for you to go after school and play a game that is going to keep you fit. So just staying fit, and then, as your metabolism degrades over time, being able to have some mechanism that allows me to eat way more Indian food or Chinese food than is reasonable for any single person to do, and not just gain 1 million pounds.
Yeah. I think we all understand that one.
So good. All right. Let me see. I don't know if I've heard one of these from you, Weck. What is your worst either toenail or chafing story, if you have one?
I don't have a toenail or chafing story, I don't think. I guess a long time ago, I was being an idiot and I ran outside during a thunderstorm. I can't even remember what it was for, but it was raining terribly. I ran outside and the ground just gave way. And so I did there's a video online where there's a person who's shoveling snow on ice, and they just totally lose it and can't keep, that was me just hydroplaning across my lawn and into a root of a tree. And I had this giant bone bruise on the bottom of my foot that just totally took me out of I kept on, even when I was trying to run, after giving myself plenty of time to heal, it was just well, no, you just have this gigantic bruise on the bottom of your foot. And so you're just going to have to wait for that to resolve itself before you can be active again.
Oh, that sounds terrible. All right, we're going to move into the random questions. What is your favorite way to waste time online?
I mean, I feel like that's pretty obvious to the people that know me on this call. It probably just getting into fights with people. I feel whether I've been when I was working for consumer electronics stores, or when I am now in a consultant, you always have to be very positive and client facing, and you need to make sure that you're taking care of your customer. And so it's nice to just be able to take the gloves off and just let someone have it when you think that they're wrong, and just show them without a doubt how wrong they are and embarrass them in front of their friends. So that's sort of my favorite way to spend time.
It's the best.
Oh man. All right. What is the one album you can listen to at any moment and just get lost in it?
So, this was one of the interesting ones. I'm not a music person at all, which I know I get a glare from Tom even as I say that. music has just never been something that I've been really into. When I'm running, I have a running playlist that I can listen to, but it's not even what I do most of the time when I'm running. I actually am much more interested in doing audiobooks because I find it's a little bit more, it's easier for me to lose myself in this other world or the things that are going on. So there's a series by Patrick Rothfuss, which I always get concerned about recommending to people because it's supposed to be a trilogy. He's 2 books in and he started them 11 years ago. So he's literally worse than George R.R. Martin in terms of the length of time he's taking to finish a series. So it's called The King Killer Chronicles. The first book, I think, is 24-hour-long audiobook. The second book, I think, is like 32 hours or something. So they're really long, but I've listened to them start to finish 3 times each because the way that Patrick Rothfuss writes is just amazing. The characters are so good. I just love the world, the magic that's in it. So it really getting into good audiobooks is what I'm into, and that's my favorite all-time book.
So Dave Matthews Band is what you're saying.
Knock it off. Knock it off. I'm worried that Weckerly is going to break down in an argument form why I shouldn't like Dave Matthews anymore, and it's going to be very compelling.
Michael just likes to troll Tom about his Dave Matthews love.
That's okay.
His cargo shorts.
There's nothing wrong with all those pockets.
So convenient. So much room for stuff to do activities.
True. Okay, what is the last film you cried at?
Oh.
So I think it would be 2 different answers. One, if it was like the film I saw for the first time, or the other one would be what I watched most recently, even though I'd seen it before. And so that being sort of the more accurate answer is I watched for something I've been doing for work, which is surrounding storytelling. I've been looking for the best encapsulation of storytelling that I could find, and it's the story of Carl and Ellie from Up. And so every time I watch that like 5 minutes of perfect storytelling without even really dialogue to go along with it, I cannot watch that and not stop like a baby.
I have to agree with that 100%.
Yep. Oh, goodness. All right. Oh, total opposite. Weck, your favorite brewery, winery, or cidery? You have a go-to.
That's interesting. So you might even have to remind me of what the name of it is because I'm just awful at names. But it's the one that has PC Funk out in, is it Black Flag?
Jailbreak.
Jailbreak is probably where I'm at. I like that PC Funk beer. Like I love more than I have loved any other beer, and I was so bummed when it wasn't available for me to purchase. I'm not a big beer drinker, but so like when I can find something that's a little bit more interesting like that, I think that it's fun.
All right. This is a fun one. We haven't asked this to anyone yet. If you could be a member of any TV family, which would it be?
So there's like the first answer that comes into my mind, I almost hate myself for saying it, but like I was going to say the Kardashians, not because I like any of them, but just because I'd then be able to parlay my like last name into being a billionaire.
Yeah.
Like whenever I hear like people talking about what's the youngest one who made her own makeup?
That's Kylie.
Yeah. So like the fact that like people talk about her as being a self-made billionaire. I'm like, oh, really? This person who was famous for being famous and nobody would have cared about her cosmetics without like her name Kardashian on it is self-made. So I guess if I was going to say be part of any TV family, I'd choose that one, but not because I like them or want anything other than the name that I can then parlay into money.
You'd be at Thanksgiving dinner with Kanye West. And you'd have to you'd get in arguments with the Kardashians in person.
Gosh.
That's almost worth it.
It'd be, yeah.
I was going to say, I'd watch that show.
All right, we're going into the actor studio questions. So I will get the creepy questions. What turns you on?
I feel like every time we put these into a generator,
It comes
those
up.
are the ones that come up.
I feel like
I think Erin's doing it on purpose.
I am not.
she's a creeper. She likes to be creepy.
I am not.
She likes
The
to hear us
sexy
ask
randomizer.
people. Yeah.
It's always 3 or 4, and you have to pair them together.
That's true. You got to pair them.
What turns me on? I think Angie's response to this was like a well-turned calf or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it's all well and good for somebody to be physically attractive, but I absolutely, in anybody that I would want to be in a long-term relationship with, would need to see them as sort of like a person who is going to be intellectually stimulating, that's going to challenge me and like hold me accountable to my own BS. So like that, like seeing somebody or seeing in somebody the like that maybe quick wit and being able to do it with humor, and I think that's I don't know if that's really what the best answer for what turns me on, but that's the only that's what I think the best answer for me would be in terms of what I would be looking for in someone.
I think that's a perfect answer. Quick wit is a perfect answer.
And what turns you off?
Interestingly, people who think too much of themselves. So the quickest, one of the things that immediately makes me not even interested in engaging with someone is, and I've found this to be more emblematic of certain geographic regions than others that I've moved away from, is when you think what you're working on is so important. So there was one place that I was living at one point in time that I'm just going to leave nameless, where I felt like every single interaction I was having with a person, they were just waiting for their turn to talk and tell me about whatever the most cool, new, awesome thing they were doing is. And like another way of demonstrating that is like if somebody will throw out an acronym or something as though I should know what it is, and they do it just to make me ask them what that thing is so that they can then pontificate about about it and make themselves feel superior for having explained that. That's like my biggest sort of turn off, I think.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
He used big words in that too.
I get to ask you one of our favorites.
Ooh.
What is your favorite curse word?
So I'm going to have two answers to this one too. So the first one is in Chinese. And it's my favorite just because in order to get around the Chinese censors, they like the English translation is mother. But the Chinese way of saying it is Tao Ni Ma, which is a homophone for grass mud horse. And so there was a meme a year or two ago where like they were like everybody was using the characters for grass mud horse in lieu of the actual curse words to get around censors, and so I love that just for the sheer silliness of it. My personal, I feel like signature curse is I don't even know where it came from, but it's Christ.
Yep.
Amen.
I can't believe that hasn't come into my vocabulary.
It has.
Oh man.
Oh my God. So good. So good. Fun fact about Andrew, if you guys didn't know that, he speaks Mandarin. All right. So I get to, I think, ask, our last question again. So if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Yeah, I really like this question. I think what I would like to hear is, you made the most out of that, didn't you? Because I don't pretend to do everything perfect or right all the time, but I hope that at the end of my life, I will have been able to do the most that I could with what I had the opportunity to engage with. So that's what I would hope to hear.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's a great answer.
That was a very good answer.
All right, Weck, is there anything you want to plug, or any kind of social media, or anything you have coming up that you want to plug?
I guess one thing that I have coming up is the Crazy Like a Fox run that we are doing. That's going to go along the Fox River in Geneva, St. Charles area. So we'll be posting to that. Hopefully over time we'll be able to build it into something bigger and more consistent. This year we're just sort of limiting it to I think we have maybe 10 or 12 people, and like Tom, you said you're going to participate in it digitally. So excited to have you participate in that.
I'm doing that virtually also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the one other thing that I guess is not for me, but I have a buddy who's doing amazing things, and he has his own podcast called Black, Brown, and Bilingue, which is himself and one other teacher that are in the DeKalb, Illinois area, discussing issues of race and a whole myriad of other things that are sort of near and dear to him. He's an amazing guy. He also, he's a principal of a school where, in order to sort of engage with kids, he raps under the name Mr. McDizzle. So if you go and look that up, it's amazing. There's a song called Kafuti, which stands for Keep Hands and Feet and Other Objects to Yourself. It's amazing. You should definitely check it out. So those are the two things I'd plug, just because he's doing amazing work, and I think he deserves more recognition than he's getting.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for doing this.
No, thanks for inviting me, guys. It was fun.
And I think I've proven that I'm awkward when we try to do a sign off, but I do know that you are a massive, massive Star Wars fan. So, Andrew, may the Force be with you.
And also with you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.